What is going on YouTube? It's Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a video that was actually going to be the first upload on the channel, but I never ended up doing it, and after a lot of thought, I thought this was a video that would help a lot of new players, as I've done a lot of coaching in my time of competing. I've been coaching since 2016 when I started with Hearthstone, and I've also coached in Pokemon VGC, and in my time I've worked with literally hundreds of players, and I have seen three major tips that once players start incorporating these tips into their gameplay, they rapidly improve. And now these tips aren't Digimon specific, they will work in any metagame in Digimon, in any game outside of Digimon that you can improve upon, because these are preparation tips and ways to make it so that you are improving when you're playing instead of just playing to win. Now, I want to keep this a little bit of a shorter video for you, so it's just informative, so let's go ahead and get straight into tip number one. The first tip is to have a focus when you're playing and to not fall into a bad habit autopilot loop. If you just follow all the flowcharts that you did before, that worked before, without questioning if they are the perfect play or if there are other plays that you can make, you're going to build really bad habits. And this is something I've seen many players build in pretty much every game that I've been in. They'll have something that works once and they'll keep with it over and over and over again. And even if it doesn't stop working, they know that it worked once or twice before, and so they're going to keep doing it. Having an area to focus on when you're playing, even if it's just a small area or a big area, is going to be extremely important. So that way, each time you play, you are improving no matter what, because you're going to be working on some area that you can learn more about. And even if you're just getting slow progress is going to be 1,000 times better than staying stagnant and just doing the same things and not really growing. And before we get into the examples, the last thing I want to say is whatever you choose has to be 100% in your control. If you choose a goal that isn't in your control, as we're about to see, it's going to be something that isn't going to help you grow, and it's just going to be a false goal. So let's go ahead and get into some examples. So right here we see some do's and don'ts. For example, we have matchups, which means you can go ahead and test the matchups. You can take notes each time you play against a green. Look at what worked with green, what didn't work with green. When you play against Imperial, did you have a good game plan versus Imperial, or was the jamming too fast? Did you use the removal wrong? Things like that. Next thing is tech cards and ratios. Maybe you have a tech card that you're testing versus a matchup, and being able to note if it's actually being effective is going to be really important, because if you just say this card's really good in the matchup, but it's actually not doing anything in the matchup, then it may just be a dead card that you could be changing, and you're just kind of blinded by the idea of the card. And then as far as ratios, if you're not 100% sure what your ratios are, a great thing to focus on is just the cards that you draw, not winning, not losing, just am I drawing it, am I bricking a lot, am I missing level 3s, am I missing level 5s, am I seeing too many options, whatever it is. If your ratios are off, that's something to be very conscious of, and the more you pay attention to it, the more you're going to be able to fix it, and the more you fix your ratios, the more consistent your deck's going to be, and overall it's going to make you better. And this doesn't matter if it's this meta, the next meta, or any meta forward. Another thing that you can do that is more specific, another thing that you can do that a lot of players don't really do is ask about what's going on more. A lot of players just kind of let the other person do what they're doing because they seem very confident, but they don't 100% know what's going on. You can see this very common with newer players when you play down a memory tamer such as Davis or TK, and then they'll put you to 1 thinking they're going to put you at 1, and then going into the next turn, you go to 3 because of your memory tamer, but they didn't know what it did because they didn't ask. This is something I see all the time. You should always ask what your opponent's cards do if you don't know what it does, because that's only going to help you learn. You'll be able to know what it does next time, and you'll be able to play around it. Even if you aren't able to play around it the first game because you didn't know what it did, you didn't plan around it, you can plan around that in the future, and it's only going to help you. Another example is confidence and nerve control. A lot of players in tournaments will have a hard time maintaining their confidence when they lose, or they'll have a lot of nerves going into the tournament, maybe because they spend a lot of money to travel to an event, or they just have really high hopes of doing well and they're scared of losing. All those things are very harmful to performance. You want to be at least a confident level that you can win any game that you're going into, and you don't want to be nervous, because if you're nervous, you're not going to have 100% concentration and focus on the game and may make misplays. Now, these are just a couple examples. Whatever area you feel that you need to improve in, you can pick that. Now, getting into the don'ts, these are things that you can't control. Winning a tournament, you cannot control. You can play the game all you want, you can study all you want, and you can go to the tournament as confident as you can be, but all it takes is one bricky hand game 3 in the finals, and you don't win the tournament. And if that's what you set your goal on, you're only going to come home with disappointment, even though you had a fantastic tournament run. Same thing with not dropping games in Swiss. This is a card game, meaning that the best player doesn't always win, and sometimes the cards just aren't in your favor, and you're going to lose. So if you set a goal of being the undefeated player and then you go and lose one game, you're probably going to ruin your whole tournament day just because you lost one game, even if you go on and win the whole set. The beating the X archetype is the same thing I just explained, so I won't go over that again. And same with gaining a sponsor. You can go into a big tournament with the idea of wanting to show off to sponsors, perform well, and get something, but you can't force somebody to sign you a contract or offer you to be paid to play Digimon. So if it's something like that, you can't control it. So when you're setting a goal, make sure you do something that you can control and something that will actually benefit you and make you a better player for the next tournament. The next thing you can do is review your content with yourself and with others. Reviewing it by yourself is going to allow you to be in a whole different mindset because you don't have to worry about time limit, you don't have to worry about competition, you don't have to worry about if your opponent thinks you're slow playing, and you can go and see if you made any misplays. And then reviewing it with other people is also amazing because they can have a whole nother perspective and say what they think was the best plays or what misplays you may have, giving you two new perspectives that you didn't have when you were playing the game and you were focusing on winning and you were focusing on competition. And you should be taking notes on all of this because writing it down gives you easy access to those notes at any given time. You can just open up a notebook and there's everything that you learned. But if you don't do that and you just bank on it being in your brain at all times, then a month later, you're probably going to forget that because there's many things that you're going to learn. You're going to have many daily things that happen outside of Digimon that may distract you. And that way you may just lose all this information that you had, as to where if you write it down, you're always going to have it. And then you can just open it up, review it anytime you need to, and boom, it's right on the top of your head. Now let's go ahead and get into the last tip. Now I said the first tip was probably the most important, and that is for the most general population, but this one was the most important for me, which is you need to stop blaming outside sources for losing. Saying things such as, oh, I just bricked and I didn't have a chance, or I suck at this game, I hate this game, my opponent's always lucky, I never get any luck. None of those things help you, and saying those things and thinking those things are true are only going to hinder you in the future, because if you think the reason that you lost is because you bricked or because you have some curse that you're never lucky, then you're not actually going to put in the work to improve, to learn the matchups, to improve your deck. You're just going to every time you lose, you're just going to blame it on either bricking or hacks or things like that, when really this is just going to set you back because you're not going to learn. It's going to just contradict you, and it's going to put you in a worse spot. Because like I said, if what you think is that you're only losing because of luck or bricking or things like that, then you're never going to put in the work and you're never going to improve. Some better things you should do after you lose, you should say something maybe like, my ratios aren't right, I should fix that. I didn't play that matchup right, I promoted first and that was a mistake because once my opponent promoted, they were able to clear my board, but if I were able to wait one more turn and develop on board, then my opponent would have had to promote and then I would have been in a better spot. This tech card doesn't help. I put this in here thinking that it was going to solve this matchup, but every time I played it, it did basically nothing, and so I should remove that, and so it's not a dead card. Alright, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this is able to help some of you. Now, this is a video that I probably won't do too often just because these three main tips are really the biggest ones to help you improve. So as long as you apply these, you will be seeing growth in your gameplay 100%. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed and I hope you have a great day. Peace out.